Good morning, everybody. We're going to get set up here. I already dropped it once. Oops. All right, there we go.
Okay.
Turn up the volume. Like we're going to hear you guys. Turn up my volume.
Okay. Thank you all for joining us. We are just going to give it a second. We have 2 minutes till 10.
Start at 10.
Yep. But thank you all for being here. Aw.
Happy February.
Happy February. Can't believe it's already February.
Great.
That's insane. Well, this is, as you all know, the Glove Lab, and thank you for joining us. Again, we will give it a second, but I just did want to say that we have fun doing these, and we appreciate you guys joining and collaborating and engaging with us. It's fun. So thank you, you guys.
It's our fun little club.
Yep.
All right, we got one more minute. So in the meantime, I'll get in my Go Seahawks.
Yeah,
It's
go
a
Seahawks.
big week.
I know. You might.
Super Bowl, super week, Super Bowl Sunday.
I say this as not a football fan, but that's okay.
It's fun.
It's fine. Okay. Where are we at? We're still 9:59.
I'm close. I'm close. That last minute. I'm hungry.
Me too.
I've ate so much this morning. I had 2 breakfasts and I'm still hungry.
Well, that's because you wake up so early. I have had 0. Okay.
So I can just watch the countdown.
I know. I'm like, all right, counting down the seconds.
Everybody get here. Today we have one that I think is going to matter to some folks. So this is good.
This one will be fun. Well, I know we say that every time.
No, it's always fun, but good times were had by all.
Yep. Okay. Well, I think we're at 10. So we will get started. Okay. I was going to ask a question while we were waiting that I did forget to ask, but have you ever had skin irritation from gloves? Yes or no, or currently dealing with it? That is what we want to know from you guys. If you didn't guess it, our Glove Lab is about skin irritation and hand injuries. So
It is.
yes.
So welcome to the Glove Lab.
Woohoo! Thank you again for being part of this. As always, our goal is to keep this light, casual, practical, interactive, all the things. If you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. We will answer them. And if we don't get to them today, we will get back to you as soon as we can.
And if you're watching a recording of this later, pop it in there in a comment. We do check the comments. We'll reply as soon as we see it.
Yep.
And we'll get back to you.
This is true. Don't forget to subscribe as well, because that's how you'll get all the updates on what we're doing next. We do this every month, so we want you to be there.
And if you don't mind, hit the like button. It helps the Google algorithm like us. So we're trying to help as many people as we can. So it really helps if you interact, if you like, if you subscribe, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So what are we doing today?
Okay, so today is like I said, skin injuries or skin irritation and hand injuries. And
graphics.
Woohoo! My name is Ashley. This is Sarah. We're part of Eagle Protect. We give this spiel every month, but we're B Corp certified and disposable glove and clothing supplier, which means that we care about how our gloves perform. We care about you guys and how they're made. So we also created Delta Zero, which is our proprietary glove testing program. And that kind of helps raise the bar on glove safety and performance and all the things that we're talking about. So last month we talked about traceability and why quality matters. And why quality teams, care so much about knowing what is, where their gloves come from. But today, like we said, we're zooming in on what happens after the gloves hit the floor. So what, you can experience as a team once you have those gloves in place. So we hear from people who come to us, we do get a lot of people interested in this topic on our website. And people, my hands didn't used to look like this, or we've got more rashes and complaints that we've ever had before.
Or a procurement person might come and they have they know exactly who they're talking about. They have we have 5 workers, we have 12 workers, there's a specific group of workers that are reacting to the gloves and having skin issues. And it can really cause some problems on the floor if they have to take days off, if then the labor is reduced and it's then you're slower and it's painful, it's miserable. So we do get this. It's usually not an entire company is we have
The
sensitive
whole
skin,
thing.
all of us.
Yeah.
Usually when a company comes to us, they have certain employees that they're really trying to solve a problem for a specific set of employees.
Yeah.
And I would also say it's quite common that when they find out our glove and they work and it is a good glove, it's just easier to have this glove for everybody. So it is nicer for everybody's skin. But when a problem comes to us, it's usually kind of a subsect of a workforce that is having issues with it. So it's not something that everybody sees, but when you're having these kind of problems, it's really makes for a miserable day.
Yes. So let's dive in. Let's talk about why it happens.
Yes. Okay. So when it comes to disposable gloves, there's kind of 2 reactions that you can see. The first one is an allergic contact dermatitis. I feel like a doctor when I say that. There's an actual allergy. And usually that's a chemical additive that's used in manufacturing. It shows up about a day to 2 later, 24 to 48 hours later. And this is going to be something that's going to be redness. There's going to be itching. There's going to be blisters. I've never had it, but I've heard it's similar to if you have a poison ivy reaction or something like that. So there is more of a reaction. There's an obvious reaction on your skin that you're having. And then the second kind of reaction that we see on skin, not we're dermatologists or something like this, but we see that people are having issues with is an irritant contact dermatitis. And so this isn't really an allergy, but your skin is reacting to something that it is touching. And it's caused by things like the glove material. If there's powder on the glove, if there's moisture inside the glove, that environment in there can cause a reaction with your skin.
Yeah.
The friction from using the glove sometimes can irritate people's skin. And this reaction is a little bit more if you have a dry, itchy, irritated hands. That's kind of usually the giveaway. So it is a reaction, but it's not quite the huge blisters, flare-ups an allergy. So there are 2 different kinds of reactions, and it's not one is better than the other. But from a medical standpoint, there are 2 different things where you can have a reaction to something from an irritation, and you can have an actual allergy to a chemical or the powder or something on the gloves.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Felt very medical saying
No,
that.
but I feel like it has to be said in that way though too, because it's
but
it is different.
Technically, they are
things
different.
Yes.
Reaction, different reasons, different reactions, both solvable, both miserable.
Yeah. And this is another big thing too. People don't realize, but like you said, it's not just wearing the gloves that causes the problem. It's how the gloves are made. And I know we say this a lot, but quality gloves are very important. So
it is the materials that the gloves are made with. Okay. When we say cheap gloves, they're usually made with cheap ingredients. Cheap ingredients make cheap gloves. They kind of go together. And manufacturers can cut costs making the gloves by using fillers, possibly using low quality chemicals. They can add things to the gloves to make more gloves for less money. So this is something they can do to try to boost their profits, cut corners a little bit. Maybe somebody's arguing with the price on them. It's well, I can make a glove for cheaper. You get a cheaper glove. So this is something they can do with the ingredients, is a way that they would do this. And then when those ingredients get in the glove, it tends to make the gloves rip more easily, which is a whole different issue that we have many resources on. We've had a couple live streams on ripping. It's the most common problem that we see. When a glove is made cheaply, it causes a whole different set of issues. But when it's made cheaply, those chemicals and other ingredients and things that they put in the gloves to try to make a bottom price glove is sometimes what our skin is actually reacting to.
And then it's such an important point that I'm going to pop a link.
Why don't you put in there? We talk about ripping a lot because it is seriously the number one issue that we come across with, no matter what industry we're working with. Honestly, I think it's food for sure. Medical is a big deal. Cannabis, that's the biggest thing. It's dental. I mean, it's everybody. It's the ripping gloves. It's while you're using the glove, while you're putting them on, that really seems to be the biggest pain in the ass. But when the things that make those gloves rip are also the things that would be more likely to have your skin have a reaction to them.
So another part of this is glove manufacturing is a very water intensive process, if you want to explain.
Yeah, that's true. It's the materials in the glove, so I can react to the glove. So if I put on the glove and the glove is made with something really cheap that my skin doesn't like when I put it on, I'm going to have a reaction to it. But there's also the process that makes the gloves can actually influence if my skin is going to be more or less likely to react to it.
Yeah.
And it is a water intensive process. So we have a former, looks like my hand is made out of ceramic, and it goes and it dips in the nitrile, and it goes and dips in water, and it dips in the nitrile. So water is used a lot in the process. And if the water isn't clean enough, it's not heated enough, if the glove isn't washed thoroughly, there's a process called a leaching process, and that takes chemicals from the glove out of the glove, and then it's not going to be touching my skin. So, but if this process isn't right, if the water's not right, if they don't wash it long enough, not all of the chemicals are going to get off of the glove. And then if it doesn't come off the glove during manufacturing, it's still on the glove, and then my skin is touching it.
I didn't know that's what it was called.
Yeah.
Learned something new.
So like the chemicals are leached off.
Yeah. Makes total sense.
But then, so if the glove isn't made to what we would call a high quality standard, things are left on the glove that could increase the chances of you reacting to the glove.
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons why we don't just say it's like, oh, it's a cheap glove, you're gonna like break out, or you're gonna react to it and things like that. But it's that the things that make that glove cheaper, the chemicals and the processes to make the glove, are the things that would increase the likelihood that your skin's gonna be upset with it.
Unhappy. So I know we've talked a little bit about this, but another big factor is heat and moisture. So gloves create kind of like a warm, damp environment for your hand.
If you think inside the glove, the higher the quality of the glove, the less you're going to have like that gooey sweat in there.
But it happens.
But if you wear gloves for a while, it's going to get warm.
Yeah. After a long shift, you should be changing your gloves, to be clear. But you know, you do wear gloves for a while, and if you're changing your gloves, I mean, like you get a little.
Well, it depends
sweaty.
Person to person too. There are people that I think if they were out in the Arctic, their hands would still be sweating.
Yeah.
And then there's people that even when they're wearing gloves, I don't think their hands sweat. So it varies person to person too. Like, I think there's some genetics in there.
There's got to be, because can't relate. So
I have the cold hand genetics myself. So I was blessed with the cold hand genetics.
But for some people alone, that can cause some irritation, just sweating in a glove.
Yeah.
And so if the glove doesn't breathe or flex well, sweat builds up and skin issues can follow. And I know that sounds weird when we say a glove breathing, but that isn't, like when you have a higher quality material glove, your hand will sweat less. It doesn't mean that sweat is coming out of the glove. That's not what we mean.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that it's going to eliminate sweat, but you should be a noticeably different.
Yes. Yeah.
Dampness.
Yeah, hopefully. So we also get a lot of questions about powdered gloves, if you want to.
Yes. So powder was originally put on gloves to make them easier to put on and take off. That was kind of the idea. So if you think of, people say it's cornstarch. Nobody knows it was cornstarch. We don't continue to check if it's still cornstarch. But so let's say there is something like a cornstarch on the glove. It makes it easier to slide on and slide off because that powder was there. That was the original intent. And it kind of makes sense when you think about it, that to have powdered gloves to help with something like this. And also if I did have damp gloves, maybe the powder would help absorb some of that. And so like the idea behind the powdered gloves, I get. But now we know that the powder actually causes more issues than it was solving. So the powder can carry allergens. It can irritate your skin. It can cause issues for that. So even though the intent was good, the powder did seem to be able to cause some issues with skin. And so we don't sell powdered gloves anymore. And then I think in the medical field, I think powdered gloves are actually banned. And if you think about it, if they're doing anything with in me, on me, that kind of thing, I'm not sure I want the powder they're touching
Would
either.
really
So
appreciate that
there's also like the contact contamination with the powder is a different story, but there's a few different reasons. But in the medical field, I believe that you can't have powdered gloves. All of the gloves that we sell are powder free, and that does seem to be the trend of the way where everybody is going. And I think it was done with good intentions, but it's just something that didn't work out as initially strategized.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, this works with candy. Candy doesn't stick together when we powder it.
Just
like,
put
we'll
some
put
powder
it
on
the
it.
glove.
Put some powder on it.
Great." Yeah, so that is an important one to note. We do not sell powdered gloves. So the other one, latex, is another important topic for this.
Yes. Okay. So before we were just talking about kind of the skin reactions you can have with gloves. You can have the allergen or the irritation. So there's kind of the two different skin reactions. When we're talking about latex, this is an allergy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is sometimes can be a quite serious allergy.
Mm-hmm.
Like need the EpiPen allergy.
Yeah.
So this one can be, and we're certain it's not everybody. Some people have a lighter allergy, but when you have a serious latex allergy, this one can be very, very serious.
Mm-hmm.
And so with latex gloves, there is a protein on the latex, and that's what people are allergic to. It is the latex protein that's on there. You can have serious allergic reactions. They can be life-threatening. There are lesser degrees of that, but it's something that you do have to take seriously just because some people can be really affected.
Yeah.
And most states don't allow latex gloves in food manufacturing. I kind of wish it was all of them, if you think about it. But it does make sense where if I'm making your food, I'm touching the food. If I'm using a latex glove, you wouldn't know that. Like I'm not looking back there and checking and
yeah,
a blue glove does look like a blue glove. And so I wouldn't know. And then I could ingest that food and have an allergic reaction and completely unexpected. So that is something with food. We've noticed the majority of, well, everybody we work with, we don't sell the latex gloves into the food processing industry. But then it's something that I think it's just safer. They've kind of gone to the nitrile and it just makes sense where people aren't going to have that serious reaction to a nitrile glove.
Yeah.
And then for people, some people would have a latex. It's probably a good way to put it as a latex sensitivity where I don't have that full blown allergic reaction, but some people are sensitive to that latex protein on the glove. Your reactions can get worse over time. Honestly, if you have a reaction to something like you keep exposing yourself to it, your reaction can get stronger and stronger. So it is something you want to be careful of. If you're having symptoms for like the itching, the redness, if you are reacting to it, we recommend using a nitrile glove. Back in the day. So I would say years ago, a latex glove was a much better glove than a nitrile glove. It was stretchier, it was puncture resistance, the performance was better. So latex was better than nitrile. But the recipes have come a long way, the technology has come a long way, and nitrile gloves now perform very, very similarly. And if you get the right gloves, similarly, or maybe even a little better. So you can't say anymore that nitrile gloves are worse than latex because before latex was a better glove. So we're going to keep using it. Now nitrile is such a good option. If you're having any problems with the latex glove, I don't know why you wouldn't switch.
Yeah. And a lot of times when latex is used in production, it's usually like a heavy duty application.
Yes.
So it'll be like something that maybe even people won't touch the latex with their own hand because they'll have a glove on underneath a latex glove.
Yeah. A heavy duty in meat processing. Sometimes they use a latex glove, but then this is also like quite early in the process of.
Yeah. And then, so like you'll cook it and all that good stuff. So, okay. So I think that is an important one to note, but let's talk about some practical things that people can do to help reduce glove related skin issues. Cause I think that's, really important.
Okay, first you want to keep it from happening, but then if it is happening, there's things you can do to make it better. If you're thinking about things like this, it would be like not putting on gloves with wet hands. So you don't want to have that environment in there being wet because that increases the likelihood of irritation. So if you don't put them in with wet hands, you're not helping that environment get more irritating.
Right.
Like we talked about, use powder-free gloves. The powder doesn't do what we all made that decision together. We were in a assembly.
We're all in that meeting.
We voted for the powder. But if you use the powder-free gloves, you're reducing the likelihood that you'll react to the gloves. If you wash your hands after you're taking off the gloves and you use a mild soap, you dry them thoroughly. If there was anything on the gloves that are on your hands, it helps just to get it off. And then so the exposure time is reduced, and then it can lessen the likelihood of a reaction there. Avoiding oil-based lotions if you're using the latex gloves. And then most importantly, there are gloves that are specifically designed for people with sensitive skin. And so this is something that can drastically improve the likelihood that somebody has a reaction to it. If you are having a current reaction, it can help reduce that. But I'd also say that's why people take time off work, because if you're having a reaction, if you continue wearing a glove, even if it is a great glove, it takes time for that to heal.
Yeah,
so sometimes your skin just needs help in a few days to get better. But if you do use a glove, here we do have a couple. So we have like our 3 and our 4 mil specifically. Shameless plug for us, right? So okay, so we do have 2 gloves. They are made with different recipes, and these recipes are accelerator free. And accelerator is an ingredient used in the glove, and it makes the nitrile stretchy. So accelerators are commonly used. They're not a bad thing. It's in the recipe of the nitrile gloves, but it makes the glove here. So it makes the nitrile be able to stretch. It's something that we need because we need our gloves to stretch. So with those gloves, they're made with a technology called a low derma technology. Mm-hmm. And it's just a different recipe, honestly. So the recipe doesn't have the accelerators in it. And so they still have the stretch. They still perform. The dermas are honestly my favorite glove. They're the ones I snitch and use at my house. Yeah. So they're still a great glove. They still have great performance. They're comfortable. They're almost soft even. Mm-hmm. But that recipe is patented, and it is less likely to irritate your skin because of the ingredients in that recipe. So you're just kind of giving yourself a better fighting chance. If you are a person with sensitive skin, I highly recommend trying these gloves. When you wear them every single day, it can really be a lifesaver, honestly.
Yeah. Yep. It's very true. And we get a lot of calls about this from people who use gloves just, at home. But then it also means that if we're getting that many calls from people who use these at home, the application in larger production facilities like this it happens a lot more than people think. So,
where we actually get the most comments about skin reaction is in the medical field. So if it's like dentists and doctors and things like that, and I wonder if they're just maybe, since they're in the medical field, they're more aware of a skin issue isn't normal, or is something that can be addressed or taken care of or something like that, because it is a medical condition. But the medical field seems to be more aware of that and having issues with it. And so that is something where our gloves are both medical gloves, which is great because then they fit and they can use them. And
and I wonder if people assume that, we're using a glove, so like, of course you're going to get skin, like your gloves.
I do think people think it's assumed that it's going to happen and it's natural and it's normal and it's acceptable.
Right. But it shouldn't be.
No. And it's not like nothing's ever going to happen, but you sure as hell can give yourself a better chance. It's like, you don't have to put up with it just to put up with it.
Yeah. Like you can have a way better time. Well, maybe not way better if you're really, really sensitive, but
but this is these are great gloves. It's a patented, so proven formula where the least likely thing on the market to irritate your skin.
Yes. So,
it's a fun slogan.
Good time. But skin irritation isn't the only thing that can happen from, low quality gloves. So poorly fitting thick gloves, and this can also be, it can be a high quality glove, but it just doesn't fit right. It's really thick. It can also be a poor quality glove that just doesn't stretch well, and it can reduce your dexterity. And then when that happens, that means that the worker has to use way more force to open their hands, use their hands. They're doing, thing after thing. And then it creates hand fatigue, repetitive motion kind of injures your hands, and it can strain your fingers, hands, even your arms. I know that sounds really lame, but it happens and it's a thing and people experience it and it's not fun. So that's a big thing also with poor quality or ill-fitting gloves.
Because I think technically it's your musculoskeletal disorders, musculoskeletal. I can type it because then it spell corrects it for me. But you can actually get injuries from wearing gloves. You just think it's like, it's a glove. I didn't trip. I didn't fall. You can actually have hand and forearm injuries from wearing the gloves. Yeah. If it is, like you were saying, a super thick glove, of course, all the gloves I've picked out today fit me. So if I put on a glove and let's say it's super, super, super small, so it's just really constricting on my hand, every time I do a movement, every time I pick something up, I have to fight the tension that's against my hand. If it's a really thick glove, every time I bend my fingers down, I have to pull and stretch that glove. And the thicker it is, sometimes the harder it is to stretch. Yeah. If it's a cheap glove that doesn't stretch well, I'm fighting even more resistance. And if you think about it, if I'm working for 8 hours a day doing something very manual and dexterous, like if you're fighting every single time you close your fingers, it's something where you can hurt the muscles in your skin. You can actually have hand injuries that come from a glove if you're wearing a poor fitting glove, if you're wearing a cheap glove that's too thick, if you're just wearing a super thick glove all the time. And that's where if you have a higher quality glove, they're gonna, even though sometimes they are a little bit thicker, the stretch is gonna be a lot nicer. And that elasticity helps your hands, and it's on your hand side, and there's less fighting going on.
Yeah.
So sometimes you do need the thickness for protection. So you need that, but then you also want a glove that is working with you instead of just fighting your fingers.
And I don't know why this came up in my brain just now, but we work in an office, like we work on computers. We're not working with meat or, in a processing facility, but like there's ergonomic keyboards. Like there's, you have to protect your, there's so many different professions where there's like possible injury. I know that's so
well, if you're at a
weird,
desk, it's like, you don't want to get carpal tunnel, right? So it's one of those, if you are on a manufacturing line and wearing gloves all the time, it's like, this is
repetitive
your
motion.
carpal tunnel, kind of,
exactly.
But you can get it from wearing shitty gloves, honestly.
Yeah. So, I mean, it happens. And
then that's also something where then it turns into a workers' comp claim. It's time off work. You have a reduced task force. It costs you money. There's the insurance factor in there. So that's where it's a glove. I know is a super simple item. It just seems really simple, straightforward. Check the box, get your glove. But there's a lot of things that can be affected that are additional money spends or cost you money that started from the glove that you selected.
Yep. So when gloves fit better, flex better, people notice. There's less force, better control for your injuries, better morale, all the good things. So if you're watching because you or someone has experienced skin issues or irritations or hand injuries from gloves and you're dealing with it right now, just know that you're not alone and we can help you. We hope that you will, someday find a solution. We have ideas for you if you would like to come to us, if you'd like our help. If not, you now have some tips that you can take with you to help. And
I'd say the one thing that's hard with skin irritation is sometimes you do have to wear a glove for a period of time before the skin really gets irritated enough where you start to notice, you start to see it. So if you did do a glove trial, it's something where it's like, hey, everything worked out great, but now I've been wearing it for 2 months and I'm starting to break out. So this could be an issue that shows up potentially after the glove is selected. And then that is something where there are solutions, but it may be a different glove for that section of people, for all the people, however you want to handle it. We do have some companies that get like our gloves for sensitive skin, and they're put in a special section and only those specific workers can use them. And they're specifically for what they're dealing with. So there's multiple ways to do it, but sometimes this does show up after the fact, which is a little bit different than if you have a glove that's not performing and ripping, you usually notice immediately. So I would say that's the one thing that's different with this problem, makes it a little bit harder.
Yeah, that's actually a great segue because before we wrap up, we have a couple questions that are around glove related skin issues, and some of them may sound similar. So this is kind of what Sarah was just talking about. So the first question is, if someone is having a skin reaction, how do we know if it's the glove or something else?
Okay, great question. And there is going to be, I would say, a process to narrow it down. We have had some people that come to us and it's like, hey, we're using your gloves and our people have skin breaking out. And it's like, okay, we have to go back and work with the company, figure out if anything else has changed. Have you changed hand sanitizers? Have you changed your soap? Have you changed the gloves? Have you changed where you're storing the gloves? Have you changed any? So is there anything else that's going on? And then also we could maybe try a different glove for a while. And then if everything else stays the same, we try a different glove. Is the skin getting better? If the skin's not getting better, it's not the glove, it's something else. So sometimes it is a little bit of a back and forth process where we have to work with the quality department to figure something out. It's not easy. It's not straightforward, but it's really looking at the whole process and documenting what could have changed in the entire thing. Is there something new in the break room? Is there something like that's where in the bathrooms, is there new soap? Is there sanitizer? So that there's a lot of things that our hands touch. So sometimes it is hard. One thing that is a little bit different, I'd say, is it also matters too if you have one person that's having skin issues or if your entire staff is having skin issues, then it's like, whoa, hey, maybe there's something a little bit fishy going on here. So that also depends, but usually it's long, serious, honest conversations, and we work together to try to figure out what's
going on.
And it does take a little time because you need to wait for the skin to heal to see what's making it better to figure out what caused it in the first place.
Yeah. Yes. So that's a good question. The next question we got was, does switching glove brands really make a difference?
Okay, I feel like that one's kind of a loaded question a little bit, because it's hard. I can talk to our brands because I know what Eagle does and how we produce and where we produce. We produce from a single source factory. We know the factory, we know the recipes, we know the ingredients, we know the process. For over half of them, when they come over, we check to make sure everything is the same. So I know that inside of this glove is the exact same glove every single time.
Right.
There are some brands, and some big brands, especially the bigger the brand, probably the more likely it is actually that they have multiple factories making their gloves, and they order in large quantities. So they have a lot of factories ordering or making the gloves, and they come together and they pack them. So the box I get this time could be a little bit different than the box I get next time because factory A versus factory B made the gloves. There could be just little variations in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where it's hard, because even if you switch to that brand, if you're not getting a consistently same glove, that's hard.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's not the brand, it's the glove. And you don't know for sure what's in the box because there's no ingredient label. There's no way to know exactly how they made those gloves. Gloves are really hard to prove consistency, to prove quality, because there's not a lot of checks. There's not a lot of checks and balances. That's why we created our Delta Zero, to have the checks and balances. But in general, I would say switching glove brands, if I had to roundabout, yes, it probably would help make a difference, but you have to switch to a brand that's going to have a consistent higher quality glove, not just brand A to brand B, because you could just be walking into the same situation with a different logo on the box.
Yep, exactly. So it's, I think that's a really good question, just because we, of course, are going to, we're the marketing team for Eagle. Of course, we're going to be like, we love our gloves. Like, we do love our gloves, and we think that our gloves are great. And, I personally would use our gloves if it was me, in a production facility. But of course you expect us to say that. So I think it's important to note that it's not just about the brand. You just have to trust the people you're getting the gloves from, and that it's consistent every time. So if that's us, if that's someone else, we just want to make sure that the gloves and the gloves that are being used are right for people.
I would say a red flag would be if you have a distributor that's bringing you gloves and there's different brands on the shelf all the time because they're just hitting the specs of like a blue 4mm nitrile textured glove or something, that they're just hitting the specs and the brands change all the time. That's really hard because there's no way to have quality control over what you're using if it is going to irritate the skin, that kind of a thing, because it's fluctuating and you just don't know what you're getting. That's one thing that would make it hard. Another red flag might be if you have, even if it is the same brand on the shelf all the time, and you have one box that works and it's great and I'm happy, and the next box is just like, geez, these are just ripping all the time. When I put them on, the cuff rips off. The last box worked, this one doesn't. So if there's flex in quality and consistency between the boxes, that's also kind of a red flag that the quality procedures may not be there.
Right. Yes. We do have a question in the chat. So what is the best way to check for the durability of a glove when you put them on? So this one, you can check for the durability of a glove when you put them on. There's also our inflation test that I'm getting. I'm copying the link for. This is a video that shows kind of how you can really check the quality of the materials in a glove. And I will put that in the chat.
When you put on a glove though, you always want to pull on the cuff to make sure that it's tough there. You want to pull on the palm, and then you want to pull on the finger, because those are the most likely places for a glove to rip. So that would be when you put it on, checking for the durability of the glove. But you want the durability of the glove, but you also want a glove that's going to work for what you're doing.
Yeah.
So even if you have a durable, like I just had a 3mm, if I have a really durable 3mm, but I'm cleaning drains and I'm using bristle brushes and stuff like that, this glove, even though it is durable, it's still not going to work because I need something tougher than that. So there's a little bit where you want to test the glove, but also make sure you have a glove appropriate for what you're doing.
Yeah. We do have one last question. We can answer it, or we can skip it. Okay. Are nitrile gloves better for skin than latex?
I would say that's a mixed bag right in there. And I would say not always. We kind of answered that one before. Latex can be good. Like if I go in for surgery, they're going to be using a latex glove unless I check the box that I'm allergic to latex. It is a good glove. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to irritate my skin. The nitrile is not necessarily going to irritate my skin. It depends on what it's made with for the ingredients and how it's made for the processes that is most likely to make it irritate my skin. So it's not really the nitrile or the latex itself, unless you have that allergy or in the sensitivities to latex, then it does.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's more the quality of the glove and what's on the glove that's touching my skin versus the material of the glove itself.
Yep. Yep. So that is all of the questions that we have and all the content and all the info and everything that we have planned for today. So if you have more questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat, ask them in the comments if you watch this after, and we will follow up with you and answer those for you. That is all. Thank you again for joining us for the Glove Lab. We will be doing another one next month.
Yes. We'll see you in March.
No, crazy. So let us know if you have any topics you'd like us to cover. And as always, please subscribe. We love to see you guys here. So,
all right.
All righty.
Thank you. And happy almost Valentine's Day. See you in March. Bye, guys.
Bye.